When we last spoke, we talked about the crisis, which equaled opportunity plus danger in the first part of the 1990s. Tell me what happened in the last part of the 1990s.
Well, the danger continued. We were doing a lot of creative problem solving on our financial situation. We had the opportunity to partner with Congregation Beth Shalom to provide concession services at the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion. And we did that for 3 seasons. It was a tremendous effort organizationally, and just involved a ton of volunteer hours, but we ended up making about $45,000 from outside the congregation. And at the same time, we had a capital fund drive within the congregation, which made $60,000. And we used that money to retire the church bonds and refinance the building. And for the first time, we were able to actually afford the payments on our own church building.
If I remember right, I worked some of those concerts. I think we had to provide volunteers for every concert all summer
Every
for
concert.
3 years.
That's right.
It was a lot of hard work.
Yes, it was exhausting. But at the same time, it allowed us to reach a point of stability financially that we might not have reached otherwise. But the other thing that happened in our congregation at that time involved a rift. We had a small group of people who formed a UU Christian Fellowship, and they were members, they were meeting within our church building and holding services. And something happened at an RE committee meeting. It had to do with the use of the word worship where children were concerned, and whether or not, and there were people who are very allergic to that word. And it was bad enough that this group of 6 people ended up resigning their membership. They left, and they started their own UU church literally just a few miles down the road from us.
In the Woodlands.
In the Woodlands. And it was a very fraught time. We didn't know what would happen, whether there were some of our members who were attending services in both places. If we had lost a significant number of members, it would have put us right back in the hole as far as, it's possible that we would have closed the doors. So the whole of the 90s were something of survival mode. And I want to say that organizations, like any living creature, has a developmental life cycle. And when you are in survival mode, it sort of truncates your development. And we were in survival mode for a good 10 years. And it wasn't until the 2000s that we started to come out of that and began to really be able to look at ourselves and ask ourselves questions about what kind of a religious congregation do we want to be? What does it mean to be a religious group rather than a purely social group, which is, as you recall, how we started.
Right. So speaking of social events, the century did end on a high note. Do you remember what we did on New Year's Eve, December 1999?
We partied like it was 1999.
Exactly. In fact, we had so much fun, and the scientific people in the church said, this isn't officially the end of the century, so we had to have another party a year later.
Yes, to welcome in the new millennium.
Exactly.